Welcome to the Omaha Magazine podcast, It's About All of Us, where we highlight Omaha business and community leaders, arts and culture, and where to dine and play. I'm Gil Cohen, Executive Vice President of Sales and Marketing at Omaha Magazine. University enrollment has been down in recent years across the nation. So how do you attract new students? In this episode, we're joined by the University of Nebraska Omaha Chancellor, Dr. Joanne Li, to share with us the strategy UNO is taking to bring in the next generation of alumni and new programs available to attract top talent. Well, welcome back to Omaha Magazine podcast. It's About All of Us. And we have a special guest with us today, Dr. Joanne Li, who is the Chancellor of University of Nebraska Omaha.
Yes.
So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Gil. I feel very special to be invited. Yes.
I feel special that you accepted my invitation.
Yes.
So little background, you've been with the university about 4 years now, going on?
3 years, and I'm entering my fourth year. Mm-hmm.
Fourth year.
I feel like 4 years.
Yeah.
40 years.
40 years? No.
It's a great thing. It's a great thing. Yes.
And you started here kind of right after COVID.
Yeah.
Or just, you know.
Still kind of around COVID.
Yeah.
21.
How did that affect your getting used to the position?
That's a great question, right? So I came to Omaha, actually moved here end of May 21.
Okay.
And June is the month that I actually took to really study University of Nebraska system leadership. So that was still in COVID, right?
Okay.
And then I started my position July 1st.
Okay.
And my first thing I need to know is like, okay, well, it's still COVID. A lot of people really very reluctant to try to meet people.
Right.
And we're still in a hybrid mode of working or so. And so I actually took the initiative since I'm new, right? So I figure I'm going to just call people and say hi. And I have to say, sometimes when a challenge happened, it creates such a great opportunity because I absolutely have no problem saying hi to people.
Right.
I think I'm a trained introvert. My husband disagreed. And then he said, you're full-blown extrovert. So when the first 6 months actually happened, I spent a lot of time calling people, introduce myself. Even during that time around COVID when people kind of shy, they were very generous. So Omaha has really gave me a great impression. They're very generous. They took my phone call. They even agree, okay, when we're available to come, we'd love to have lunch with you, have dinner with you.
Were these business people within the city or
donors,
alumni,
supporters, alumni, faculty. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So students, So the first 6 months is actually kind of like run into good luck, I have to say. So I have a very welcoming 6 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's very cool. And so now after 3 years or so going on in your fourth year, things have calmed down a little bit and back to regular schedules and...
Yeah, I mean, in high ed, we always say continued improvement, right? There's no such thing called, now it's kind of like smooth sailing. Yeah. And you probably heard about what's going on with FAFSA, right? The Simplification Act, and it's nothing simple about that, I have to say. It really created a lot of challenges for university such as University of Nebraska Omaha as a urban, public research university. We really target at serving students from all kind of background.
Right.
Our core is to serve people of the world. And particularly, we are very proud of the fact that we serve a lot of economically diverse background students. And FAFSA really created a lot of challenges for us. But I think, consider all things, with great teams, great people, great faculty and staff, we're able to sail through the storm. Yeah. So it's never a dull moment working in university, right? And
so let's talk about enrollment a little bit. Enrollment up, down, about the same?
So across the nation, a lot of university, you shouldn't be surprised to hear 10 to 15% down, right? And urban university like ours, I know that they're about 3 to 5% down, right? There's some data coming out from College Board. Right now it's level, which we consider ourselves very lucky, but I think the luck didn't just come, right? Our team worked really hard. We've been planning about it since last October when we started to see things are really going south, what we can do. And one thing I have to give a shout out to our philanthropic, community. They really help us. And give us some dollar to help us to put radio ad, to educate our families, our learners. And we're also very aggressive putting up big billboard when high school graduation come in Baxter.
Doing some marketing to get...
Yes, and we reach out to high school counselor. We have a very aggressive campaign to make sure that we won't lose a generation of learner.
Yeah,
so,
that's tough. And previous guest we were talking to had mentioned we were chatting almost the same thing, but how families are somewhat smaller now. And so the pool of eligible freshmen is shrinking a little bit. And so from a again, going back to the enrollment part of it, is there still a large percentage of Omaha kids that go to UNO, or are you getting freshmen from other areas of the country? Or
so you brought up something. It's what we call the national phenomena of enrollment cliff.
Okay.
It will hit the nation in 2025 next year.
Okay, wow.
Because you can do statistics and project the 18 years old coming to college. That population is shrinking.
Right.
It probably hit Nebraska in 2027.
Okay.
I want to give a shout out to all the families. You're still having kids, so we're proud of Nebraska. So in terms of that, right, UNO have 85% of our learners actually come from Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
Greater Omaha community. Now, that being said, UNO has launched a very strategic move to understand because in view of this enrollment cliff, right? And also as an urban campus, we serve all learners. It doesn't matter, from all walks of life, we welcome you. So we quickly understand the goal is, how do you really educate the citizens of Nebraska and beyond? So while we are proud to have 85% of our learners really from Greater Omaha, we have launched a strategic program called Omaha Urban Rate.
Okay.
More than a little bit around 2 years ago. And our goal is to go after 15 states surrounding the state of Nebraska. And I said it before in public, and I will say it again, right? If you want to eat more lunches, there are only two ways to do it.
Yeah.
Either you're going to make your lunch or you're going to take someone's lunch.
Exactly.
Make your lunch is how do you appeal to your local citizen, right? Tell them that we have a wonderful public research university right at your backyard. You should come to university. Come to UNO. Very affordable, very quality education. That's really try to make more lunches, right? To make sure that people are aware of there's a lot of ample opportunities here. How do you take someone's lunch? Is the Omaha Urban Rate, right? This program is going after the 15 states surrounding Nebraska, and we charge the student tuition and fees 1.5 times our local citizen. And that's roughly amount to a little bit less
pretty reasonable.
A little bit less than 11,000, right? Our rate is actually can beat a lot of in-state tuition and fees in those 15 surrounding states. The program has been very successful. Last year, we have about 400 and maybe 480 candidates coming in to apply. This year, we're up to almost a little bit below 700.
Wow, that's
so we
nice
know
increase.
We are touching into something that we can bring more talents, recruit more talent to the state of Nebraska.
Any particular state that we're getting freshmen from of those 15?
There are quite a few states, and I don't want to disclose my trade secret.
Okay.
But I think we have been successful, and some states are relatively new to us, right? And they have a little bit smaller population, but you can tell those states, the 15 states, you can look at a map, and you can make a really educated guess that we're getting some of our lunches from.
That's great.
Yes.
How do you manage having a fine university right in the center of Omaha here, obviously, with a sister university 52 miles away? So
University of Nebraska system, I call it system, is actually a big vision of serving roughly 50,000 students. Every single campus has a very unique vision and mission. Right? Our strategy, right, supposed to really support the system to serve the citizen of Nebraska and beyond. So as an urban public research university, our core and our vision will be a little bit different from our sister campus over Lincoln, our sister campus over Kearney, right? And obviously, different from a medical center. So we often, I'll give you an example. Under President Gold, recently, we are started really think through how do you really behave like a system. We share data. We think about strategy. What could be the way that we can work together.
You're not in competition. In a way you are, but not really.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word competition because that is really unjust, right? I want to use the word complement with an E, right? Our strategy is complementary to each other.
Gotcha.
And our goal is the same. Provide very affordable and high quality education to all the learners that want to come to University of Nebraska.
So you mentioned something. That was one of my questions is, and maybe you answered it and not sure, but what is the definition of a public research university?
So most of the time people talk about research university. They talk about Carnegie Mellon, category. Usually call it R1, R2, and all kind of thing, right? But last year, Carnegie Foundation actually worked with ACE, the American Council for Education, and they decided, the way they count university very outdated, and they started to change it. So the new rules are coming in very differently. Usually when you talk about public research university, public is easy to define, right? You're a public university, but research is indicate that you have high productivity in research dollar.
Okay.
And I want to say, to your audience is that a lot of people don't know, right? Public research university perhaps is the highest ROI that one can imagine at the U.S. economy, right? A lot of companies have the research and development, right? They pump in a lot of money, think pharmaceutical, right? They put a lot of money in research and development.
Right.
But if you think about in the kind of comparison orange to orange, right, and you put money in public research university, our ROI is so high, right? You may have partner from NIH, NSF, right? But the money that they injected and granted to the university, our faculty actually can produce a lot of incredible research. And I can go on and tell you a lot more about the national counterterrorism, the biomechanics.
A lot of time we have you.
Yeah,
you can go into that if you want. If there's
so I would tell you, right? Let's think about like UNO is really known for the biomechanic departments and the research they have done.
Okay,
and it's all started with philanthropic, dollar. They believe in the vision and the future of a public urban university. So biomechanic department received support from the philanthropic community, and they have very, very successfully advanced a lot of research. Let me give an example. Recently, biomechanic a group of researchers, they just won a COBRE grant. What is a COBRE grant? It's Center of Biomedical Excellence.
Oh.
So they won a $11 million grant, and they've done many different kind of things. I can go a little bit into detail it, but eventually that grant will, snowball into probably up to a $30 million. This is their second COBRE grant.
That does a lot for the university. And
now, of course, I'm not a scientist, but I'll tell you one of the things that I'm also very proud. With this COBRE grant, I still remember about 3 years ago when I went to the biomechanics lab, I was like, what is biomechanics? Educate a finance professor about it. So I remember I pick up a little piece of material in the lab, and I say, hey, what is that? And my researcher was saying that, well, Chancellor, holding in your hand is the future of stents. I say stent as in cardio surgery? Absolutely.
Wow.
And then they started telling me that, in the past, when we put stent in a patient, right, the material that you use for the stent will disintegrate given time.
Over time?
Yeah, over time it will disintegrate. But holding your hand is a collaboration that we're doing research with the NIH, right?
Wow.
Under that particular research, this material developed by our material scientists here in the lab will never disintegrate.
Wow.
So think about minimal invasive surgery.
Yeah.
Minimal, like invasive, meaning that once you cut me open, don't come back again.
Don't come back again. Yeah.
So I'm actually very proud, and I think a lot of our colleagues have done tremendous job, not only for Omaha or Nebraska, but really for the nation and internationally.
So how close does UNO work with the Med Center then? Are you guys working on similar programs?
Yes, and even in that particular research, right, they work collaboratively with UNMC. I mean, it would be foolish for us as a public research university not to collaborate, a very well-known medical center. So many of our colleagues kind of like hybrid, right, collaborate. And I love the spirit of working close to UNMC. And that department is probably one of the quite a few departments within UNO that work closely with the medical center.
Is there anything in the future that both would merge into one major
well, as I said, let me
or?
answer it politically correct, right? And we're one system, right? It merge or not, we all serve the same mission and vision for that. And a lot of people don't know, right? When you think about medical center, they really don't have undergraduate student body, for lack of a better way to say it. So UNO, right, as a partner.
You're getting them prepped for.
Absolutely. We have a lot of our biology student, pre-nurse, pre-med student actually being trained, a neuroscience student being trained at UNO, and then they eventually will matriculate and go to UNMC, be in public health, medical doctor, nurses, PT. So we're very proud of that partnership in providing workforce development.
What's the, just historically over the last few years, I know I've asked a few of our guests about the brain drain, and, is UNO affected by that? Or are you finding a brain gain?
So yes, we are not the brain drain. We're the brain gain. Why do I say that? In the past 3 years or so, UNO has been very intentional, very strategic to really articulate the vision of a public research university. And we want to emphasize the fact that, right, as a public research urban university, workforce development is very important. We always keep our fingers on the pulse of Omaha and Nebraska economy. What does it mean if you look at data? The Department of Labor data just came out, right? Look at across all undergraduate campus, right? From undergraduate all the way to PhD. There are 3 within the system, right? Lincoln, Omaha, and Kearney. Right? We are the best performing campus. Across all 3.
Congratulations. That's great.
Well, thank you. I'm always, at least like my bragging right?
It wasn't like that 4 years ago.
Right. So I'll tell you, if you look at the data that graduates, post-graduation, 5 years post-graduation, UNO is able to retain 67% of our graduates, right? Still living in Nebraska and working for Nebraska. If you look at the 1 year data, we're about 80-something%.
Wow, that's incredible.
We're doing really well. But Gil, 67% means we have room for improvement.
Room to grow.
So we will continue to focus on articulating the vision of workforce development.
You think that's a function of opportunity in Nebraska? I mean, job opportunities. There's only so many. I had this conversation with Heath Mello, Heath, the chamber president. And I brought this up a couple times on a podcast that Forbes has named Omaha in particular number one city to move to. But yet we're not having to stop people from coming over the Mormon Bridge because there's so many of them. They haven't moved here yet. Is the opportunity going forward? Is there still enough opportunity, job opportunity here in those fields to keep those kids here when they graduate?
So Gil, you asked a good question, wonderful question. So I also serve on the Federal Reserve Bank in Kansas City, right?
Yes.
So we spend a lot of time talking about that, and from the Federal Reserve data, right, they also serve the state of Nebraska. We know that the state of Nebraska has a relatively low unemployment rate and a relatively high labor workforce participation rate. Right? So unemployment rate at 2%.
2%, might even be less than that.
Yeah, so we're probably second lowest unemployment rate across the nation. So you ask a question, right? Do we have enough job, or actually do we have enough people? Right. So there are actually a interlock playing right here. What does it mean going forward for the state of Nebraska? We have to imagine by 2030, there's going to be a lot of jobs that have not been invented today. Right. So how can we position the state of Nebraska to understand we need to continue to bring people in to fill out those jobs, and at the same time create jobs that will retain people, right? So UNO has been very strategic to understand. I always say fear is not going to get rid of your problem.
Right.
You know how to get rid of your problem? You confront it.
Yeah.
So, you
can't sweep it under the carpet and hope it
and
fixes
pretend,
itself.
Or close your eyes and pretend it will go away. It won't.
Right.
Let me give an example about technology evolution in higher ed. Right.
Okay.
I have a lot of different conversation with Fortune 500 company CEO,
right?
Because I participate in the CNBC financial.
Nobody's going to say no to you, right?
No, I hang out with these important CEO. They
Jim Cramer.
Yeah, exactly. And then they have a lot of intel about how the Fortune 500 companies are moving in technology, and data show that last year 33% of corporate America is using AI. This year is 65. I will tell you next year. Definitely will surpass 70, right?
Wow.
Easily. So what does it mean in higher education? It call upon us. What are you going to do about it?
Right.
Are you going to sweep it under the rug? We actually have a very healthy attitude, right?
Okay.
We are not going to just be afraid. We're going to really confront that. So more than a year ago, we created a future work symposium discussion. We brought in an endowed professor from University of Georgia, a good friend of mine, Dr. Arun Rai. And Arun is really famous internationally in understanding AI, ethical AI or so.
Right.
We started to talk about, okay, what is the importance of using AI and why we're so really gun-ho in investing in it. And truth be told, AI, first discussion really made it to public is 1956 in Dartmouth, right? But why recent year we got so much attention? Because the big tech started investing a lot of money in it.
Yeah.
So, being a public research university, I say, okay, well, let's do something about it. So during the Future Work Symposium, we talk about AI. And we'll also talk about, okay, AI, how is it going to change higher education? Just like internet, just like email, right? We have to embrace it.
Right.
But we have to figure out how to make ourselves knowledgeable about it. So we started something called a UNO AI Lab. It's in collaboration with ASU, probably University of Tennessee in Knoxville. Wow. We have a very safe environment. We teach our faculty and our staff. I said, okay, we'll first have to convince people we know what we're doing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So we started to learn. I'm also an AI lab student. I'm probably worst student, really behind in assignment or so. But I think it's important because as we really want to change our curriculum and incorporate AI in teaching and learning, we have to set by example.
Okay.
So UNO AI Lab is an important initiative for UNO to educate ourselves. Let's make sure that we infuse AI in our operation.
Right.
We will be smart about using AI in an ethical way. And this fall, very grateful that our Board of Regents and under the guidance of the Office of the President under Dr. Gold, we are offering the first Bachelor of Science in AI for the state of Nebraska.
Wow.
That I know. I was so excited.
That's pretty cool.
I was waiting to brag about it.
That's very cool.
So UNO is the 14th university in the country.
Okay. I was going to ask you how many.
Yeah, there's
are
13.
Out there. 13
the
others.
first 13, they're all Ivies and Ivy Leagues, plus. And UNO as a mid-major university, but fast-growing, right? Really sensitive about evolution and higher education. We are offering Bachelor of Science in AI. And I am not shy to tell you, we will continue to double down on the technology, the business side of competing, right, in higher education. We want to make sure that our learners coming in will have the opportunity to really learn how to use AI to complement their job.
Right. And, I'm glad you brought that up because you've answered that question probably better than anybody that I've talked to about
so kind.
AI recently. But I did hear something on CNBC several months or so ago that they estimate the IQ of AI at this point is somewhere in the high 60s, low 70s. But as that continues, as it continues to learn, it could grow to 160, 180 IQ, and
they'll be a genius.
Be smarter than a lot of us.
Yeah.
Certainly. Well, it's already surpassed me, but
no.
Is that kind of a scary thing that at some point it's going to be smarter than Einstein?
That's a very rational question, right? Let's go back to what we talk about, right? Fear is not going to make the problem go away.
Right.
how we're going to face the problem is with a positive attitude. Based on a lot of researcher from England all the way across the country, people will talk about AI, and they worry about we as individual will be replaced. But let me invite you to think, this is 2030.
Yeah.
You are working a job that we really didn't have it in 2024.
Okay.
Right, 6 years ago.
So it's a whole different
right.
ballgame.
So you have to really recognize AI will be under some guardrail to perform a portion of your job that could be mundane, that can be exponentially, be very productive, right? Those things that need to repeat, you hate it, it will be replaced
or in sales,
by AI.
hey, how do I face this objection?
No,
right?
but I will argue the creative side of human being will be very difficult to replicate, right? Some of the scientists out there may disagree with me, right? And we know, right, a lot of people know even in music, there's a lot of music now is written by computer, coding, everything. But there's only one Jim Croce.
Yes, you can't put emotion.
Correct. So what I really believe going forward for education is how do you influence all discipline, all major, all study to recognize the fact and acknowledge some portion of your work may very likely replaced by AI. But for the rest, make AI help you to be productive, to help you to do other things. Otherwise, I hated that because it's so mundane, it's so boring, but AI can do it so fast. And I always say that when we first started about the AI conversation, I asked my friend, I was like, come on, let's not be scared about ChatGPT. He's like, why not? I was like, well, can you answer what is quantum timing in 3 seconds? No. I said, let me show you. So I type it in ChatGPT. I said, what is quantum timing? In 3 seconds, ChatGPT provided that. I said, that kind of task can be left for AI, right? Our task, like leadership, right? Some of the things that is really require culture changes, right? And I don't believe that can be replaced by AI. So how do we educate our future generation of learner to make them be not afraid, but embrace it and use AI to help you to get into the job and the career you're going to have 6 years from now, 10 years from now.
Going back to the students themselves. You mentioned how fast it takes to get an answer to something. Is that going to affect their ability to write an essay or
So there got to be some kind of policy in place, right? We always say to the professor, we got to outfox the student, right? Just like when people started to use internet, they worry, oh my goodness, these people are going to cheat. Trust me, human being will find a way to put guardrail in policy to make sure that we understand there is an ethical way of using AI. But be not afraid, right? If you worry about the students going to cheat, right? We'll find way to talk to them. We'll find way to put in policy.
Or and test them to see if they've really read the information, right?
Yes. And I think it will accelerate learning. I'm actually a believer of AI, but you can talk to my husband. He may not completely agree, but I'm a believer of AI. I think exponentially it's going to help human to learn and advance so much faster.
That's very cool. Well, it's an interesting perspective because that's, it's something that is not going to go away, just like you said. Let's switch gears a little bit. I want to ask you about being on the Kansas City Fed Board. We have at least 3 people from Omaha, right? Jeff Schmidt is the president.
Yes.
And Carmen Tapio is just on the board, and you were on the board in 2023.
Yes, so, and Clark Lauritsen from FNBO.
Oh, and Clark too, from First National Bank.
Yes.
So
actually, Carmen now belongs to Kansas City Board.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's actually Clark and me.
Okay.
And David Roth from the
that's right. Carmen's on Kansas City. You're on the Federal Reserve Board. Here.
Omaha branch.
The Omaha branch down. Okay.
But the Kansas City Board, include quite a few, regions.
Okay.
Yes.
So what's the function of the board and what's your input there?
So, of course, my first line of disclaimer, right? My opinion is my opinion. I don't represent the Kansas City Board, but I have tremendous joy serving the Kansas City Board. I think there are 12, Federal Reserve banks in the country, and they serve a spectacular function in terms of monetary policy. But Kansas City Board, in my mind, has a very distinguished profile. They have a fairly big infrastructure, They're known for talent development. But one thing that I truly admire about the Kansas City Board is they really with the people. Right, they do a lot of due diligence. They go visit farmer, they go visit rangers, they go visit community. So last week we're in Scottsbluff and we did a site visit. We visit the community over there. We communicate with some of the bankers, some of the business owners, and we visit some businesses. So Kansas City Board really serve a very distinctive function among the 12 Federal Reserve banks. They really into talent development. They really into building relationship. And they believe that monetary policy, big part about it is really serve your constituency, making sure that the policy will, impact our community in a positive way. So I admire them, and I often, share with them. I said I serve a lot of board, but your board by far is the most fun board to serve. There's a lot of information that I got to learn. I completely geek out. When I go to the Kansas City Board, they show all the graph. I was like, please, economists, talk to me. I absolutely love serving on the Kansas City Board.
Cool. Very cool. It's quite an honor to have been asked.
I know. I was like,
to do that.
What were they thinking? But it's been really fun.
It's been really fun. So we got a couple more minutes left. Let's chat about sports a little bit. Obviously, you have a great hockey team.
Yes.
Beautiful baseball stadium.
Absolutely.
Soccer.
Yes.
New soccer. A couple friends of mine that knew I was going to talk to you today said, ask her about wrestling and football.
Oh, gosh.
You don't have to answer that if you don't want to, but any chance of bringing either of the two back, or is that?
Yeah, that's a tricky question to ask.
I'm sorry.
But no. I would say that UNO taught me a lot about athletics, and first and foremost, I want to use a little commercial time to say I want to thank all the donors to support UNO athletics.
Right.
Without their day in, day out support, without their unwavering commitment and belief in UNO Maverick, we cannot make it happen.
Right.
Now, hockey ranked 11 last year, but one thing I'm really proud, we're the 4th most attended hockey team in the nation. Second year in a row, right? We have a lot of sold-out event, and of course, we have soccer team, men and women, they won, right? They did really well. And also our softball team, let me give a shout out to my Queen Bees. They are awesome.
Women's
and
softball.
volleyball is fantastic. They won their Summer League championship. So we really had a wonderful banner year. And shout out to our athletic director, Adrian Dowell, fantastic leader, helped the teams and all the athletic program reach new height. And I have to say, I cannot be more proud of my student athletes.
Yeah, that's great.
Because being a student athlete is not easy.
Oh, it can't be. They're practicing, and then they have to go back and study. And,
100% discipline. But more so is not only they perform so well on the athletic sports they choose, they are also scholars. And I have to say, I think the average GPA for our Division I athletic team aggregate GPA is like 3.8 something.
Wow.
It's unheard of, right? It's unheard of. So kudos to all our staff. They really love and care for our students. And I'm just very proud of them. And I remember last year, this May, when we graduated, I have a hockey player, Matt Miller. I'm going to tell Matt Miller's, families how so proud of them. He made it back and walked. 4.0 student.
Wow.
Hockey player, now play for the NHL. Come on.
Yeah.
Cannot be better than that.
No.
So, okay, go back to how little Joanne Li knows about, Division I sport. I am now currently the NCHC chair.
Oh,
yes.
Cool.
And I always joke, I say, hey, I may not know the sport, but I know a little bit about the business. So we enter a very difficult time because of the NCAA challenge, and many viewers and listeners already know about the NCAA. There is a pretty big mess going on.
Yes.
Right? So we keep a close eye on that. And I have to say, it will continue to be more challenging for Division I school like UNO, because we're not the Big Ten, right? Like Husky Athletic, they are the Big Ten, and they have a lot of media rights, a lot of good contract going in.
A lot more resources. And
absolutely. Yeah. So our D1 school, it's a small budget, but they've done mighty things. Yeah. And I don't want to skip the question you asked about.
No, that's okay. You don't
wrestling
have to answer.
And no, wrestling and football. And
UNO was
no. I want to make sure that we answer your friend. So UNO loves our athletes, our alumni, and we hosted alumni reunion for football and also for wrestling. And we're very proud that we're able to host the event. But I'm more emotional, I have to tell you that, Gil, is when they show up to the reunion.
That they still have
I could understand because,
empathy.
I've been here a little bit over 3 years, but I heard a lot of history, and I understand it invoked a lot of sentiment and maybe emotion. And I remember that day when our basketball coach, Crutchfield, and they were playing a basketball game that we hosted a football reunion, and there are 102 football players show up that day.
Wow, that's incredible.
It was emotional, and I think it's all kudos to Chris, our coach. And he was, once upon a time, he played basketball and also football for UNO. So I think it's all because of Coach and Adrian. They've done a fantastic job. I have great people. But I want to tell all the listener here today and all the viewer how grateful that you show up for our reunion. Yeah. And we also celebrate our wrestler, the state champion, and in our hockey game. And I have to tell you, I am so directional challenged. So after we celebrate the national championship in front of all our hockey audience and viewer and fans, they went back in. And of course, I have no idea where I was going. And I got into the wrong door. I was with the wrestlers, right? And I remember Coach Denny. He knelt across, in the hallway with all the wrestlers. I mean, these are big dudes, right? Yeah. And they all knelt and said a prayer. And I was so touched. Yeah. I mean, that day I understand why all the emotions and why all the sentiment. And I have to say, I'm very proud of our alum. They show up, and regardless what history had
they
done.
still support the school, and they support whatever programs.
It really meant a lot to me, to to Adrian, to all our athletic teams. We know that sometimes story could not be perfect.
Sometimes things happen. And
but I just want to say that I'm very grateful for our football players and our wrestlers show up.
That's great. That's a great testament to the time and effort that they put in, and the fact that they
show up.
Like they show up.
They showed up.
So if families, parents, kids want some more information on UNO website.
Yes, absolutely. We're actually in transition. We're going to introduce a new website.
Okay.
However, UNO actually has an office of engagement. If family want to come visit UNO, you can always reach out to an office of engagement. They're kind of like the concierge service for UNO. Because when we develop it in 2022, I have a vision. Right, university to outside people is a university. It's like big wall standing up, right? But I do believe as a public urban research university, our goal is there's no barrier. Everybody come in, you are family. You can come and see us, you can come and visit. You want to come and see the biomechanics lab, you want to come and see the National Counterterrorism, lab, come. So office engagement always welcome our people to come. Cool. But you can always reach out to recruitment and enrollment team.
Nice.
We call it the Division of Institutional Success and Student Success. And they are a team of wonderful advisors. And they will always hold your hand, walk you through anything you want, including a sweat
We just want you to stay here.
Yes.
Well, Dr. Li, thank you so much for spending time with Omaha Magazine today. Really enjoyed the conversation. You touched on some things that I was very interested in learning more about, especially from the university standpoint, and especially in AI and things like that. So really appreciate you being here today, and hope you're here another 10, 15, 20 years. Obviously, you must like Omaha.
I'll be very old, but thank you. But thank you for including University of Nebraska Omaha.
Sure.
We're very happy with the university to serve the community. We are the community.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's a great way to end it. Yes. Well, thank you so much,
thank you,
Chancellor, and appreciate your time
Appreciate it, too.
today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks again for joining us today. Check out the show notes for more information on the programs available at UNO, and hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss an episode.